Imagine this. A summer day, everything seems normal, and then boom, nature just unleashes.
Yeah.
Water rising incredibly fast, not over hours, but like minutes, turning places, into something dangerous, unrecognizable.
It's a really terrifying picture. And sadly, something very much like that happened recently in a couple of different places, actually.
Right. And that's exactly what we want to get into today in this deep dive. We're looking at the severe flooding, particularly in Texas and also New Jersey.
Yeah, going beyond just the headlines, we want to look at the impact, sure, the response, which is huge, but also, the why.
The underlying stuff.
Exactly. Like, how could it happen so fast? And this crucial question about warning systems, were they there? Were they missing?
Because figuring this stuff out, it's not just reading news reports, is it? This is about understanding these rapid disasters, how they hit communities so hard.
Right. And what it means for being prepared, really, wherever you are.
So this deep dive is kind of your shortcut to grasping that. Today we're asking, with weather getting more intense, why do some places seem, well, tragically caught off guard, even when maybe history suggests they shouldn't be?
Mm-hmm. A tough question.
Let's unpack it. Where do we start? Texas.
Let's start in Texas. Kerr County, July 4th. What should have been, a holiday celebration.
Mm.
It turned into just devastation.
The initial reports were grim. At least 13 people confirmed dead.
Yeah, and so many unaccounted for right at the beginning. It was chaotic.
And the stories about the summer camps. Just awful. Camp Mystic, an all-girls camp.
That's right. About 750 kids there. And reports said around 20 were missing initially.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick called the flooding there catastrophic. That word really hits hard.
It does. He did try to offer some reassurance, saying, if parents hadn't heard, it likely meant their child was okay, just that communication was down. But still, imagine that waiting.
Unthinkable. What made it so bad so quickly there? You mentioned the speed.
The speed is, it's almost unbelievable. Patrick's team reported the Guadalupe River. It rose 26 feet.
26 feet?
In 45 minutes.
Wow. Okay. Less than an hour.
Exactly. That kind of surge.
Yeah.
That's what causes flash flooding that just sweeps everything away. Homes, cars, lives, almost instantly.
And this area, Kerr County, for people listening who don't know it, what's the geography like? Why would a river rise that fast there? It's not just rain, right?
No, you're right. It's not just the amount of rain, though that was huge. It's the Texas Hill Country itself.
Okay.
Northwest of San Antonio. Think steep hills, rocky ground, quite shallow soil.
So the water doesn't soak in much.
Precisely. It hits that hard ground and just runs off fast into these narrow river valleys, turns creeks into torrents in minutes. That's a flash flood.
And lots of summer camps there too, you said?
Yeah, thousands of kids, especially around the 4th of July, which just ups the risk factor considerably.
A terrifying combination then. Geology, intense rain, and lots of people, including kids, right in the path. So faced with that kind of speed, that kind of disaster unfolding, what did the response look like?
It had to be massive, and it was. Officials got something like 400 to 500 people on the ground for rescue operations almost immediately.
Wow.
Yeah, and they brought in everything. 14 helicopters, 12 drones, 9 specialized rescue teams, swimmers.
So a huge mobilization.
Huge.
Yeah.
And they worked right through the night. Just relentless effort from the first responders.
You heard Governor Greg Abbott pledging all necessary resources pretty quickly, right? For Kerrville, Ingram, Hunt, that whole area.
Yes, and officials were trying to get warnings out too. Sid Miller, the ag commissioner, basically pleading with people. Don't take chances. Stay alert. Don't drive through floodwaters.
Standard advice, but critical in that situation.
Absolutely. And the sheriff's office telling people near the water to get to higher ground. Basic stuff, but urgent.
But here's the thing that really stands out. Despite those immediate warnings, the question of advance warning, Kerr County Judge Rob Kelly, he's the top official there, he was asked why camps weren't evacuated sooner, and his answer was, well, pretty shocking.
What did he say?
He said, we didn't know this flood was coming. Rest assured, no one knew this kind of flood was coming.
No one knew. But you just described the geology, the flash flood risk.
Exactly. And he went further. He said, flat out, we do not have a warning system in that area.
Wow. No warning system in an area that floods.
He said it floods regularly. He even mentioned a bad flood back in 1987 near Comfort, killed 10 teenagers on a church bus.
Oh, man.
But he said this one far surpassed that 87 flood, and they got months worth of rain in just a few hours.
So, okay, it floods regularly. There's a history of tragedy, and yet no warning system. What does that tell you? about how they view risk there, maybe.
That's $1 million question, isn't it?
It really is. Maybe these truly catastrophic events seem so rare, even with the regular smaller floods, that investing in that kind of, complex warning infrastructure, maybe it doesn't get prioritized. Funding, political will.
Or like a normalization of risk, like it floods, but not like this.
Could be a dangerous kind of complacency, maybe.
Yeah.
Until the unforeseeable actually happens.
And the human cost, you could see it unfolding online, couldn't you? That Kerrville breaking news Facebook group.
Oh, yeah. Normally for like local tips and stuff.
Right. It just got flooded, literally inundated with posts, people desperately searching for family.
Just heartbreaking stories. I saw one about a mother couldn't reach her daughter and son-in-law, their house near the lake, just gone.
Yeah, and another woman in Austin, frantic, trying to find her grandparents down by the Guadalupe. No word since the day before.
It makes it so real, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Beyond the numbers. These are families torn apart in an instant.
Okay, so that's the horrifying picture from Texas. The speed, the lack of warning. But this wasn't the only place hit by severe weather, right? Let's talk about New Jersey.
Yeah, important to cover that too, because while Texas was dealing with that river surge, New Jersey had its own tragedy. Also, Thursday night, heavy rain, thunderstorms, at least 3 deaths there.
But this was different from the Texas flooding, wasn't it? Not so much a river overflowing.
Right. It highlights a different kind of danger from extreme weather. In New Jersey, it was more about the intense rainfall itself, saturated ground, maybe some urban flooding, but critically falling trees.
Ah, okay.
In Plainfield, a tree came down on a car during the storm, killed 2 men inside, one 79, one just 25.
Terrible.
And a similar thing in North Plainfield. A 44-year-old woman also killed when a tree fell on her car.
So it shows that even without like a massive river flood, the sheer force of the storm, the saturated ground, it creates its own deadly hazards, especially in more built up areas, maybe.
Absolutely. It underscores that severe weather throws diverse challenges at us. It's not always the same threat, even if it's driven by the same weather system.
So we've looked at these two events, Texas, New Jersey, different impacts, but both tragic. When you step back, what really jumps out at you from all this?
Well, several things, I think. The speed in Texas, obviously, just terrifying. But also that missing warning system in a place that floods. That's hard to wrap your head around.
It really is.
And then, the sheer scale of the impact on the community, the families, contrasted with the incredible effort of the rescue teams.
Right. So for you listening, what should you take away from this deep dive?
I think it really highlights the stark reality of these fast-moving natural disasters, how varied they can be. And it just hammers home how vital things like warning systems are, but also the heroism of first responders. They run towards the danger.
Definitely.
And maybe most importantly, the need for preparedness, both personally for you and your family and, as a community, thinking about different kinds of threats, not just the one you think might happen.
It's about looking past the headlines, isn't it?
Yeah.
Understanding the so what, how these events affect real lives and how we need to think about safety, resilience, all of that.
Exactly.
Okay, so just to recap briefly, we've seen nature's power fast and devastating, whether it's rivers surging or trees falling. We've seen the huge efforts of rescue teams, and we've seen how vulnerabilities, like missing warning systems, can have profound consequences.
Yeah, that sums it up well.
Which leaves us, and you, with a pretty big question to think about. Given that weather seems to be getting more intense, more unpredictable, how can communities actually adapt?
Especially places that already face risks, like regular flooding or storms.
Right. How do they adapt their planning, their infrastructure, to really prepare for what might seem unforeseeable right now, particularly thinking about vulnerable groups, like those kids at summer camp, or even just people driving home from work? How do we get better at anticipating the unimaginable?
That's the challenge, isn't it? Moving from reacting to truly anticipating. Something for everyone to consider.